what inspired you to start Runaway? Let's start with the name, actually. Why Little Runaway?
Uh, this is kind of a funny, random story. So I was living in Colorado at the time, and I've always known I wanted to do something in the arts, so that's kind of just always been there. But I didn't know I was going to start my own photography business necessarily. And I was just hanging out with someone like at a bar. We were just getting a drink one random night. This is before my business ever actually happened. And I have this thing where I like to ask people like if they could be any animal, what animal would they be? Because
Oh,
I'm like a really big animal lover. And so he responded, I don't even remember what his answer was, but like then he was like, what animal would you be? And I swear, like I don't know where this came from, but like I was like a horse, like a wild horse. And he was like, well, what would your name be? And I was just like, Little Runaway. Like it just like came out of my mouth. I don't even know where it came from. And we both looked at each other and we're both like, that's a really good name. And it just stayed with me. And then it kind of became a joke, like amongst my other friends. They would call me like Little Run as a joke. And then eventually when I opened my own business, I was like, Little Runaway. That's like it just is perfect. And so yeah, that's how that happened. Very randomly. But I felt like it was kind of like meant to be. It was just like floating out there for me to like grab it.
yeah. I
Yeah.
love those stories when it's not just like, oh, it was good SEO or the
Right.
keywords were on point.
Right.
And it makes
Yeah.
me think of that song, that old, I don't know if it's like 50s, My Little Runaway, a run, run,
Oh,
run, run. Yeah.
I don't know about that, but I want to say Bon Jovi also has a song called Little Runaway,
Oh, okay.
which I did not know at the time. But
That's
yeah, I
cool.
don't know. Well, and it's kind of funny because I actually like part of my um business evolution, there was like in the beginning, I focused on animals. Like I was doing a lot of pet photography, so dogs.
Mm.
And so then people are like, "Oh, Little Runaway, like a runaway dog." I'm like, "Sure, yeah, that could be it."
That's so sad, though. A runaway
I
dog.
know, I know.
That's
That's
so
why
sad.
I never actually like that was never part of the reason why I named it that. But I don't know. People always liked it, and I always loved it. So yeah, I just have kept it, and it's my business has evolved so much. I don't do pet portraits nearly as much. I mean, I do. I work with like a local shelter and take pictures of dogs here, but
Oh, that's
not
cute.
for my. That's not really even through Little Runaway. It's just kind of on the side. But
So, how did your photography journey begin?
oh man, to be honest, I can't like pinpoint an exact moment. It's just been like this like evolution my entire life. I mean, when I was young, I knew I wanted to do something creative, and that looked different times of my life. When I was really young, I loved movies and books and all that. So I thought I wanted to do something with movies. I wanted to be an actress at first. And then I realized quickly that I'm very shy and I have severe stage fright. So I would try to do plays and it would not go well. So that had to change. And then it turned into wanting to write. And then it turned into, well, I want to be a filmmaker. And so I did end up getting like gifted a camera, like a film, like an older film camera. And this was like years ago, back before, Instagram and, all these photographers that are out here now. So I didn't know how to work it and I kind of just had to like figure it out. And then I ended up going to film school in California after I graduated high school. And while I was in film school, part of their teaching us film, we actually started on photos, like on film cameras, like just like taking pictures. Like that was like how they taught us in the beginning. And as we got more and more into like video and learning about like movies and commercials and things like that, I was like, I don't enjoy making films. Like I don't because I mean the film process it's a huge team, right? Like it takes a village to make a movie or to make a commercial, and you're just one piece, like one beautiful piece of this big picture, which is great. But for me, I'm like, that's not for me. I want to like create the vision, hold the vision, like I want to see the whole thing through to the end. And I want like more control over it. And I guess I'm not as much of a team player, but so I ended up switching over to just like learning as much as I can about photography. And then I more and more fell in love with it, and then traveled around for a long time, and was just, I've lived in multiple states, and I don't know, I was just kind of lost. And eventually, once I moved to Charleston, I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, I need to like actively pursue, like figure out what I want. And that started with pet photography, which led to more people and families and then weddings. And I didn't love any of those. I mean, I love photography and I love to learn and I was trying to get better, but um, I don't like weddings are not my thing. I don't know. It just, none of them clicked quite right until I started working with some entrepreneurs that I was meeting. And, you know, like even like 5 years ago, branding photography, to most people, that means headshots, right? And so that's what I thought branding photography was. And I was like, I'm not doing headshots. Well, so when I was working with like chiropractics and like energy workers and yoga instructors, like they didn't want headshots either. They wanted something that felt more like them. And that's how I fell in love with branding photography and how I met all these yoga teachers and practitioners and wellness practitioners. And then that's how I ended up with retreat photography. So it's like just this long road of just like of evolution. And yeah, and now I'm here.
And now
Sorry,
you're
that was a
here.
really long answer.
No, and you've arrived at, yeah, good. It's Tuesday.
Yeah. And now it's Tuesday. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I love how you laid out basically the way I like to see, or the way Crystal, get your thoughts together.
Yeah,
They're
you're good.
coming. They're coming.
Okay.
I align with you find what you are or who you are by first experimenting with all that you are not, you know?
Oh my gosh, yes. No truer words have ever been spoken. Yes.
Yeah. And I see that in your path. You're like actress, nope. Film school,
Yep.
no. Photography, no. And then you somewhere along the line after all these no, arrive
Right.
at the yes.
Right.
No, and that's how you know.
Right. And that's honestly been my whole life. Like even where I grew up, I was born and I was like, nope. I mean, no offense to like I love Minnesota. That's where I'm from. But the cold, no. Like I'm from a very small town. Like, no. People kind of just like it was all laid out, like people, high school, college, married, kids, you have your job. There wasn't a lot of creative jobs. Like basically everything I was seeing, I was like, no, like none of this is for me. But I didn't, and once again, this was before social media. So I didn't even know what all was out there. I just knew that this wasn't right for me. So then I just left and I was like, well, let's go figure it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I feels you on that one. I have a similar story. Um, let's talk about nurturing authenticity, what that means, especially, I mean, going back to what you said about branding. And I saw some of the shots that you posted on I think it was Instagram recently, a brand photo, and it was so creative. It's like things that you want, but you don't know as a person who is not a photographer how to express that to a photographer. So
Sure.
how do you get into those kinds of nurturing authenticity in your shoots?
I mean, it's different. Everybody's so different, right? Like every person's different, every business is different. So I always try to remember that first because some people, me and them just click instantly. And then when I feel comfortable, I'm just like, I mean, I can't help but just kind of be myself for better or worse. Not everybody likes that. But the people who do like it, I gravitate towards them. They gravitate towards me. And it very quickly, you know how when you're comfortable with someone, you just get to the good stuff quicker. I feel like that's, like the good stuff, like the real conversations, like the real answers. Even like for a question like, how are you? Like you'd actually say like a real answer versus fine, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's why I emphasize so much the importance of working with clients and people who align with me, because I feel like if we are aligned, um, then we are able to be more honest and open, and we feel braver or like more courageous to be like, I want to try this. It looks weird and it might not work, but let's try it. Because it's amazing how many people just don't want to try something because they're afraid to look dumb, or they're afraid it's not going to work. And then it's like, oh, I shouldn't have suggested that. And honestly, like a lot of, like even during a session, like I tell people, and I think this helps them feel more comfortable collaborating with me, where I'm like, let's try this. I don't know what it's going to look like, but let's try it. And like, I'll ask them their opinion, or like, I guess I'll more like invite them to have an opinion. Like, if you want to try something, let's do it. But if we do it and you don't like it, you don't have to use the pictures. Nobody will ever see them. Like, I tried to give them space to feel safe to explore. Because I think we're just all kind of like nervous to try new things, and or to fail to try something and it doesn't work out and it looks dumb. So I just try to keep the conversation open and invite them to be a little weird with me. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay too. That answer that question? I think that answer it. Partly.
Yeah.
Because it's
Partly.
because often like I said, I can't really help but be myself with people. And so I really like to align with them. And I think with that comes trust. And when you trust someone, you're a lot more willing to express creativity.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
There is, I mean, yes, I agree with you. The trust and the feeling connected and aligned, just, then you get people saying like, oh, it's so nice working with you. I feel so comfortable. And
Right.
the lack of judgment, the lack of criticism, and just the space to be whatever comes forward.
Right.
And I'm thinking photography, I love taking photos. I love photo shoots. I love
Oh,
all
yeah.
kinds of photo shoots. But there is like this initial period, especially like throughout the years. I think about the way I've taken them. When you are the subject, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
it's a great way to experience personal growth, or
Yes.
show up as you want to be. Show up as you want to be. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes in that in between space of like who I am now and who I want to be, it feels a little uncomfortable because you're not
Yeah.
completely there yet, but you want this session to help you get there,
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
guess that's what I'm thinking about, nurturing authenticity. Like how do you help people bridge that gap?
Well, kind of what you were saying, like there's been shoots that I've worked with people where we did not fit well together. And not in like we were rude to each other, but just like for whatever reason, we never got to a point where they fully felt comfortable. And that can be in part because yes, they are maybe like holding on to whatever insecurity or self-consciousness that they have, and they refuse to let go. And photo shoots like that, they don't turn out bad, but they are a little more like formal, a little more headshotty, a little less like movement and playfulness and creativeness, which is fine, of course. Um, but yeah, I guess I like to encourage, and I try to do a lot of the prep for this before the actual shoot. So like I send guides and questionnaires that kind of try to at least put us on the same page and also dive a little bit deeper. So like the questionnaire will kind of ask like, what do you love about your job? What are some things that you struggle with? Kind of trying to dive a little bit deeper. And then one of the questions I ask is pick one or two words that you want to feel when you're looking at your final images. So say you get the gallery back, you're looking through the pictures. How do you want to feel about these pictures as you're looking at them? And so examples would be like powerful, confident, joyful, goddess. Like I've had people use all these. And so I ask that before the session so that we can talk about it and be like, okay, well, what does that mean? You want to feel like a goddess. What does that mean? What does a goddess do? And so then during the shoot, that word is present and we can focus on it, right? And for some people, that's super easy. Like some people, the person in particular I'm thinking of who like chose the word goddess, she was like, we were at the beach. I didn't have to do anything. She was just like, she was there. She was a goddess. But then some people like confidence is their word. And you can tell how like much they're still holding in and how much they're afraid to let go. And I can only do so much. Like if self-consciousness, insecurity is like, that's not something that I can solve for anybody, but I will kind of try to walk them through what that means and why it's so important that these pictures embody that. And also like, and this is something that I say to myself too, is like, even just for the next like hour, 2 hours, what if you just leaned into that confidence and even faking it for 2 hours, just fake it for 2 hours, but just leaning into it and letting, even though I know it's hard, letting go of the insecurities, because down the road, what if you like look back and kind of regret that you didn't just let go, even just for 2 hours, letting go, So there's a couple of different things that I try. And like I said, sometimes I don't have to do anything. And sometimes it's a deeper conversation. And it depends on the person. But yeah, it's different for everybody. That's why I think I also loved learning about like psychology and personal development and why I love all these, learning about all that, because I think there's so much of that goes into that for photography as well. Like I see people's insecurities, like the most confident people I've ever met will be like, oh, I hate my arms. Do not like photograph my arms. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're beautiful. Stop. But it comes out so fast once the camera's pointed at people. And so I just find all of that very fascinating. So yeah, I love learning about all that stuff as well.
That is fascinating. And it is a lot of, it's not like you have to have a therapy session, but it's interesting how many of these different things, like even I've spoken to some chefs that they're like, I'm not a therapist, but people sit while I'm cooking and they, all of these different aspects are a form of therapy and a way for us to kind of see ourselves and have to, I don't know if deal with that is the phrase I want to use, but look at that.
It's like a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, like I would say, like for a chef, I bet you people like, I don't know, but I would say like people like will just start talking. It's like therapy. But for me, I feel like I'm almost like triggering people. So it almost feels like I'm like traumatizing people sometimes. And I feel so terrible. So that's why I try to do a lot of the prep and the conversation beforehand. So I always also try to like have a conversation with people, and just so they can start to get comfortable with me. But yeah, there's a lot to it. And I didn't know that in the beginning of my career. This has been like a slow learning and sprinkling in of like more tidbits and like little ways that I can help people relax, or people to trust me, or people to feel more creative.
Yeah. And this is interesting, the branding aspect of your work, because I know you also shoot for retreats, which is very different. It's more like capturing the moment as it unfolds.
Right.
But every retreat needs, well, maybe not every. I'm not going to say 100%, but the majority of people who are promoting their stuff on social media or on their website, they're going to need branding. And sometimes it's shots in the moment, and sometimes it's shots of the hosts or the guides. And so, yeah, what do you recommend for like a branding photo? Do you think everybody should have a branding photo if they're photo shoot?
Um, like the retreat leader themselves for it.
Yeah.
I always include that. So like if someone were to
Oh,
hire me for their retreat, I include like almost like just like a little mini session of the retreat leader because I do think it's important for any business to like show yourself, promote yourself because that is a
yeah.
big piece of why people want to invest with you. They want to know you. Um, it's so funny because like it's kind of like you were saying, like to me, I guess it's just the way my style of photography is that to me, like a retreat is all branding photography to me.
Oh,
But you're right, it's not really because there's like a million pieces to it. You're almost doing like interiors of the venue, you're doing yoga classes, you're doing workshops, or you're doing hiking, adventurous photography. Like you're doing all of it. But I guess I still think of it as branding photography, but I think it's also because like I said, I've spent so many years trying all these different things and kind of taking pictures of anything and everything because I did like a short stint as a real estate photographer and you know
oh.
I used to do tons of landscape photography like just nature stuff. So it's like I've been preparing for this like my whole life without knowing what I was preparing for.
Yeah.
um but yeah, I it's kind of interesting. One of the things that I've learned about as I've done more and more retreats, one of the things I learned is because in the beginning I was like, oh, this is purely branding, marketing for the retreat itself. But actually, and this may just be because of like the retreat leaders, but at least the one retreat leader that I've worked with the most, what we've learned is that actually it's great for the participants themselves because we give them access to all the pictures. And so they now at this point, they like don't even bring their phones out. They like are can fully be present. And then they get to go and look at all the pictures I've taken. And it's just such like a treat too for them to like be able to put their camera away and just trust that I'm taking pictures of everything. So it almost has become like a bonus for participants as well that I'm there. It's not even just like marketing for the retreat leader anymore, which is cool. But I guess that depends on each retreat leader. Not everybody wants to share the gallery with everybody. But
I like that perspective though. This is the first time someone mentions it, just being able to be present because yeah, I can see how you'd want to you want to make sure you have your phone so you can capture moments. But if there's someone there that you know is capturing everything,
right.
it makes you relax. And I really like that you include a mini branding session for the retreat leader.
Yeah.
I think that's unique and
Oh,
very
is it?
necessary.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I agree. Like it would almost be weird to me to not do that because I'm like, you're a person running the show here. Like people, like I want to even just spend that time one on one with you. But mini sessions are kind of my favorite part because I also offer mini sessions at extra cost for participants. And the mini sessions and the one on ones are like my favorite part, kind of about retreats because I love spending one on one time with people and it's just fun. Like people just have such a good time having their own little photo shoot in another country. You know, people like not everybody treats themselves to that. So it's really cute to see how excited people get about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do think it's necessary for I mean, but I could be biased because I'm the photographer, but I do think it's necessary to have a little one-on-one of the leader for sure.
And when do you do that? When everyone's having like nap time and chill time?
It depends. It depends on what the schedule is. So ideally for photography, for the best light, you want to shoot either in the morning or in the afternoon, like late towards like sunrise, sunset. Like ideally photography wise, that's the best time of day for light. But on a retreat, you know, the schedule is the schedule and you kind of have to work around that. So it kind of depends what we have going on. Like sometimes she'll like the retreat leader who I've gone on the most retreats with, she'll be like, hey, do you want to meet up before the yoga class at the shala and just take a couple quick photos? I'm like, yeah. And depending on the retreat, like we've even done it where we've like done a couple pictures, like we snapped a couple pictures quickly, like over here for 5 minutes. And then we went over, like the next day we did it over here for, like we kind of try to get it where and when we can, depending on the light and the schedule. But ideally, I would like to carve out 30 minutes. So it just depends on the schedule and what we can make happen.
Okay.
I like to be free flowing. I don't like to try to, because then I think we stress ourselves out.
Yeah, it's easy to get stressed out on retreat with the
Right.
schedule, at least. Do you have any, so thinking about as you work with the retreat leader, are there any lessons that you've learned as far as like, okay, if you're going to be the photographer at a retreat, you're going to need this and this and that, or never do this, or what are some lessons that you've learned on
Oh
retreat?
gosh. I feel like I could talk about this one for a while.
Oh, good.
Well, and it's so funny because like I've actually talked about this with other people, and I'm like, I'm really high maintenance now because because one of the retreat leaders I've worked with the most, she is amazing. Like the way that like every detail, just so intentional, the whole retreat. It's so beautiful, intentional. And then if I go to another retreat and the venue isn't nearly as nice as like I'm used to. So I feel like I've just been spoiled of like beautiful venues, you know, um, and like the hiking trips and the beach and just all the details are just so spectacular. So it makes it so easy to take pictures. But I have been to like some venues where that like an actual venue space hired me to come and take pictures, and they put together a retreat, and I just was there to like capture the venue of the retreat. Well, it's a long story, but basically what the lesson I learned is that or the lesson to share is that like if you do have a venue space, make sure it's like make sure that the venue space is nice. I feel like that's really important. That like sets the tone for a lot because that's where you're staying. Um,
What do you
and
mean nice? What does nice mean?
I guess by nice, I mean just like not cluttered, not like a dark hole cluttered with stuff. But this
Okay.
is just me as a photographer. Like if you don't have a photographer there, it probably doesn't even matter. Um, but I don't know. I kind of at the same time though, like I think a space to heal and to feel intimate and like share with a group of people. I don't know. I feel like the space is very important. And I don't know that everybody appreciates that as much as they should. Um, so yeah, I guess the space itself, like just light, the energy within it. So I would even say like the retreat leader, like the tone that they set for everything else will follow, right? And I understand like hosting and planning a retreat is a lot, like can be very stressful. But even if you're stressed out, try not to express that or show that to your participants. Because I think, like I said, I think a lot starts at the top and it just trickles down. So even same with like the space itself, like having a nice space, I think is like, I don't think people appreciate it as much as they should. But I'm trying to think of something more specific though. Like a less,
Hmm.
I'm not sure. I mean, I guess that's just what comes to mind because I had a pretty like difficult time with that one, trying to take pictures in like a very cluttered space. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I won't go into too much detail on that, but
I guess maybe it comes back to alignment, and I
right,
mean each person needs to connect with what inspires them. If the space
right,
is not inspiring you to take photos, I would think just like a singer. needs to sing a song that inspires them to sing.
Right.
Because if it's a song that's like, I'm not into it, you're probably not going to sing it that great as something that you really can bring your whole self to it.
Well, and
And I,
I'm very sensitive about my surroundings and like the aesthetic. Like I need to be inspired. So yeah, like you're saying, I need to be inspired. And I know it sounds kind of like materialistic, like having a nice space, but I don't even mean like something fancy and expensive. Even just like clean and open
yeah,
can make a world of difference. Even like being outside, like having a lot of outside space, like even just having a lot of light, like a lot of natural light, like windows, I think can make a world of difference. And it changes the look of the space. I actually did an astrology chart reading, and the girl who's doing my astrology chart reading told me, she was like, so you are very sensitive about your physical surroundings, and you need to be surrounded by things that like you find beautiful. And for me, beautiful is like nature and just natural light. So I'm also, I guess, very particular about my surroundings, but I felt very validated when she said that though.
yeah,
I was like, I am very picky.
that's good. I think that's a good thing to know what you like and what you don't.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think for photography's sake, if you're having a photographer on retreat, you want that. I mean, it's already so difficult to be a retreat photographer
Why?
when
Tell us
you
why.
because you have zero control over anything. Like you are just along for the ride. At least that's how I look at it. Like the retreat leader does not come to me and be, I mean, occasionally they will, but for the most part, they do not come to me and they're like, what do you think about this space? Like before they even book it, they plan out the whole retreat and hopefully it's beautiful, but they plan it out and I'm just along for the ride. And it doesn't matter what time of day it is, what the light looks like I got to be there and I got to capture it. So I guess for me, if you have a beautiful space, it makes my job a million times easier than if I'm just in some like a hotel. Ugh. Sorry, I hate the lighting at hotels. Not my favorite.
The
At least some hotels.
fluorescent
Yes. Yeah,
lighting.
especially if there's like no windows and I only have like the overhead lights.
Yeah.
It's my nightmare. Or like even like I've had to do a shoot when we were in Bali. And it was very unfortunate because we were in Bali at this gorgeous temple. We were doing like this ceremony in the water and it was just
Wow.
beautiful. But it was the middle of the day and the sun was just like direct sunlight on us. But I had to take pictures. Are they my best pictures? No, they are not, which stinks because it was in such a cool place. But you got to do it. So I guess just because I have so little control, it's extremely helpful when like the setting makes it easier on me.
I'm sure it's made you more adaptable because you have to find ways to get creative with what you've got.
Right. Absolutely.
Hmm. But that's a really good piece of like a tip for venues. Um, the cleanliness. I mean, I've said this in a few videos because I I love to clean and I
Oh,
love
yeah.
clean things. Yes, I love
Yes.
to clean. If you didn't know, now you know I love to clean. And you can have a shack.
Yeah.
It can be a shack. And if it's clean, like all the little
Hmm.
details and all the corner and it's minimal, like you said, no clutter,
Yes.
there's space. And there's like a little plant or you just it's a canvas, really.
Hmm.
And it's a space that invites whatever you want to invite into that space, but that it's intentional. And that
Hmm.
can take something looking like something very sad
Hmm.
to something that you might see on Instagram and be like, oh my God, I need to visit that place. It's the same
Absolutely.
place, but just cleaning
Right.
it and being intentional with what's in it can make a world of a difference.
I 1,000% agree. Yes. And that's why, I mean, yeah. It's so funny though, because when we're talking about these venues, it's like, yes. I mean, and I think also like influencers kind of make it sound like you have to have so much money to create this amazing, gorgeous lifestyle. No, you don't. You just need, you need cleanliness. You need, I think minimalist look is beautiful. Like it's perfect. Like, one or two intentional pieces and you have a great backdrop for a photo shoot. You don't need luxury necessarily. I mean, sometimes that's nice, but yeah, I absolutely agree. Like when we were in Morocco, we were staying in these like little, I don't know if they were yurts, but kind of yurts, like little canvas tents. Those were our rooms, and they were so cute. The lighting wasn't great, but they because it was a tent essentially, but they were so cute because they didn't have a ton, and it was just very simple and and the colors of Morocco are beautiful. Yeah, you don't need a luxury hotel. It's just I think that's the key to anything is like just being very intentional um and simple. Like I think simplicity is beautiful, and to me simplicity looks like nature. Like nature, it's all out there. You don't need to spend a fortune. um but
Indeed.
yeah. Yeah.
Indeed.
Hmm.
Can you share a memorable experience or a moment that you captured that was just like it stuck with you forever or it will stick with you?
Ugh, that's a hard one because I I feel like the whole retreat is like a profound moment. I actually call it like the happy bubble because when I'm on retreat, and I feel like most participants feel this way, um, for a whole week, you're just with the same people, and it's like this collective energy of a group of people all choosing to be there, wanting to heal and explore together. And it just creates this energy. And so the whole time during a retreat, I don't, I can't even describe it. Like I just feel safe and I feel happy and I'm excited to wake up and see what the day brings. So it's hard for me to pick any of those moments. Um, I mean, some of my favorites that I'm thinking of are moments where as a group, we would like go somewhere and it was almost like a day off. So like, um, we had like a beach day in Bali where they didn't have any yoga classes or any of the workshops. We all just went to the beach the whole day and we're playing in the waves and falling over and laughing hysterically. And I almost fell over and I had my camera in my hand and all of the participants were trying to like save me from the water with getting my
Yep.
camera wet. And
Oh my God.
it was so funny. And then, um, Morocco was also like, just, I don't know, just like I can't even pinpoint one thing because all of it was just so amazing. The rooftop, like when we were in Morocco at one of the venues, we would eat dinner on the rooftop, and they would have the prayer call every so often while we were up there, and we would all just get quiet and just sit there during the prayer. And yeah, so I mean, there's so many to choose from. I can't pick just one. Sorry.
No, it's okay. But do you have photos of that? Like, do you have photos
Well, I have lots of photos of people in the waves. I did take some of the rooftop so the thing with the prayer call is that we all agreed that we weren't going to do anything during it. So I didn't take pictures, but I did take pictures of the rooftop, all of us gathered together eating. And then another lovely thing, like at least usually with the one retreat leader that I go with a lot, she does like a closing ceremony. And I won't give away her secrets, but everybody kind of sits in a circle and then one by one, each person goes in the middle. And I always take a picture of them sitting in the middle, surrounded by everybody. Um, and I think it's really a beautiful reminder of like how seen they felt in that moment. Like just
Mm.
like all the love and attention on them, as uncomfortable as it can be for most people. I think that's also like a nice keepsake for them to remember that, so they can look back on that picture and remember all the love that was being given to them in that moment.
That is beautiful.
Yeah,
I'd
there's so
like to see
many.
that.
There's so many moments.
So what can a retreat leader, we've talked a little bit about the venue, what they can do to make your job easier. What can a retreat leader do to make your job or so that they get better photos?
I mean, that's hard for me to say without more detail. So like trying to think of something kind of vague. I mean, just being aware, I think it helps that the girl that I've worked with so many times, like we know each other so well at this point that she'll know what I like and what I don't like. Like of course, I feel like everybody knows this, but maybe it's just because I know it. But like sunrise and sunset, lighting wise, that's the best time of day for beautiful light. So if you have anything like super cool or great happening and you can schedule it around those times and it's like outside, like that is you're going to get amazing photos. Um, so yeah, I mean, if I had to schedule like my own retreat, I would probably do everything like in the morning or late in the afternoon. And then everybody just nap in the middle of the day, have like a siesta.
Yeah.
But that's not realistic. So, and I'm aware. So just knowing, I guess, honestly, knowing how tricky light can be. I mean, at least for me, I'm a natural light photographer. There are some photographers who will bring a flash maybe, but to me, that's super disruptive. Um, and that's just not my thing. But so yeah, just knowing that we're trying to manipulate the natural light, which can be tricky, and then also remembering how like important space is. So like when we were just in Greece, the shala that we got, like the retreat center we were at was it was amazing, but the shala was I struggled because it was very small. And so trying to take pictures of people in yoga poses, like as they were flowing, and I'm like, it and so I would go to the retreat leader and tell her like I'm just getting pictures of people's butts because everybody's like face well because they were all facing the wall and I couldn't like get in
Yeah.
front of them because there's a wall there. And so me and her talked about it and she ended up grabbing a few of the participants and asked them like, hey, can we just do like a quick photo shoot of it with a few of you? And so there was just like 3 of them and I then got to take some pictures and I had a little more control over it so I could actually have them facing me and we could do the things that we wanted. So I guess it was just having like a conversation, being open to like changing things if need be. Because yeah, retreats, it's like even the retreat leader, they plan a lot, but there's only so much control they sometimes have over a situation. So it's just
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
yeah, like having a conversation with them, maybe keeping us in the loop of like what's going on and also what I do like to ask sometimes too is like, especially if it's like a new like I said, this one retreat leader we've worked with together so many times that it's very easy for us to communicate. But like anybody new that I work with, it's like making sure that I know what the priority is and know what I am allowed to do, right? So like if you have like a workshop where it's a lot of like heart work, you're having deep conversations, there might be some tears, some stuff. Not every retreat leader is gonna want you, or not every participant even is gonna want you in their face when they're like crying or, having a deep conversation. So having conversations like that beforehand to know what I am and am not allowed to like, like if somebody's having that deep moment, taking a step back, at least that's what I prefer to do because I want them to have their space. But every retreat leader and participant is different. And so just, yeah, having conversations about what the expectation is, what the priority is. And priority is like even for marketing, like what marketing materials are going to be the most useful for you. So just like, yeah, just I guess having a lot of conversations and being willing to figure it out as you go. I don't know how helpful that is, but
Yeah, it sounds straightforward. Do you also take video or just photo?
I do a little bit of video. Video is not my favorite, to be honest. Just because I haven't mastered it yet, which is funny because I went to film school. You'd think I would have mastered it, but no. I did for this last retreat in Greece. I did invest in a drone and underwater housing for my camera. So that
Oh,
was fun to play with because drone is, I mean, you can take pictures, but the quality is not as good. So I mainly did video for that. And then the underwater stuff, I did a lot of videos. I preferred the underwater stuff. The drone stressed me out. I was so nervous I was going to crash it.
yeah. When it gets so high, you're just like
Yeah,
afraid it's gonna stop and just drop out of the sky.
right. Well, and where we were in Greece was like on the side of a mountain. So it took me a long time to be able to even just fly it out further. Like, because if it fell, it was gone. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to get to it. But yeah,
And they're expensive too. They're not cheap.
right. Well, that's why I this is my first drone, so I did go a little bit on the cheaper side. I mean, it was still expensive, but cheaper, so that if
Mm-hmm.
I did crash it, which I figured I might, it wouldn't make me cry. Um, which I kind of did in Greece. It wasn't like a big crash, it was like a little crash. I just crashed it
Okay.
into it just kind of bumped into a pole and then fell like 3 feet.
Oh,
But it was fine. It's fine.
okay. It's like getting a first car, you know, that's why usually they're like, don't get the best one because you're probably
Right.
gonna bump that one up a little bit.
Right. Yeah. So it's definitely got some bumps, but it is still working. But yeah, that's
Well,
been a
that's
whole
awesome.
journey. Yeah. So yes, I do shoot some video. I try to do different things, different perspectives, but for me, honestly, and I'm totally biased, but for me, I think the best way to to capture beautiful moments is through photography. But I'm biased.
Yeah. Do you are you also a participant? Like, is that how you get into the comfort and
No,
trust?
funny enough, everybody's like, "Oh, you're for sure a yogi, right? You do a lot of yoga." I'm like, "Not really." I'm trying to get more into it because I think it's a beautiful practice, and I know so many people who teach it. Um, I will say my first retreat with a retreat leader who I met, she and I had never done a retreat before, so she had never had a photographer come on retreat. So me and her kind of were talking about collaborating, and I kind of just went as like an experiment. So we like kind of traded. So bought the plane ticket, but she paid for everything else. And she was like, if you want to participate, just jump in whenever you can. And I was like, okay, yeah, for sure. And so I go to Portugal, and within 2 days, I was like, I can't participate. Like, I can't, because it was stressing me out to try to relax while also being like, oh, I could take a picture of that. That looks really good. Or, oh, like it was like
Hmm.
two sides of my brain were trying to work at the same time, and it wasn't working. So after that, I stopped trying to participate. I occasionally will and by participate, it's mainly, I mean, like classes, workshops, anything like that, where it's like deeper work. If it's like a beach day and everybody's hanging out, I can do that. That's fine. And I mean, I'll still take my pictures and hang out, and then I'll set my camera down and like chat with everybody and have fun. And then if something's happening though, I'm like on call, like whip out
Yeah.
the camera again. Um, Occasionally, if it's like a nighttime, like yin yoga or something like that, like we did an olive oil tasting in Greece, like I can kind of participate too. But and yin yoga is pretty slow, so I can just hop into that. But for the most part, my brain is like all or nothing. Like I can't just shut it off. So that's just for
Yeah.
me. I'm sure lots of people can do both though.
But that's an interesting perspective. I think I would probably be like you if I was a photographer. Because it's just, if I'm there to work, I'm there to work. And
Right.
but because then when you relax, if you relax too much, then all of a sudden you're on this journey and then wait, wait,
Yeah.
wait, wait. I'm here to
Yeah.
take
Right.
photos.
Like, you want me to do what? You want me to take photos right now? But I'm so relaxed.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel.
Yeah. Well, and then the I started to, and this might be a marketing tip, maybe. So like I said, we give the participants access to the gallery. So day 1 and 2, I'm like taking pictures of anything and everything. And then when people are like doing the healing workshops or things like that, or we have downtime, I'm on my computer, like editing photos as quickly as I can and putting them up on the gallery. So then the participants are seeing the photos while they're on retreat. And then they're like, oh my gosh. And then they share them while we're on retreat. And because the energy, like when you're on retreat, the energy to like share on social media and create reels and post these pictures that we're taking is like the motivation is way higher. And we started noticing this. So I try to pump out the pictures so that people are posting, and then everybody back, home seeing the pictures is like, oh my gosh, that looks so amazing. I wish I was on retreat. So it's actually like a great at marketing strategy to like, I mean, it's kind of stressful for the photographer. But would notice that the momentum around the retreats gets amplified way up when the participants have all this access to the photos and they share them. And because then once they're back from the retreat, like after a vacation, you're like exhausted and you're kind of sad that you're back. And so you don't feel as motivated to share the pictures. I feel like your kind of motivation dips. So like while on retreat, people want to share all of it.
That's interesting too. Does that, or do you think that affects the participants' ability to really immerse themselves in the experience if they're posting?
Yes, I do. And that's why we don't tell people to post, but if they do. So, not everybody does that. It depends on the group, right? It depends on the person. Some people want to share their experience as it's happening. And then other people, I've known of people who didn't look at the gallery the entire time we were there and wait until they got home, or weren't on their phones the entire time, or weren't on social media. So it just depends on the person. We do encourage people to like put their phones down and be like, hey, she's going to take the pictures, put your phone down. But people being people will so it's like they have the option. It's completely up to them.
Okay. Yeah, just letting people do what they want to do.
Yeah. And it's
Okay.
a lot easier, like, if I'm the one taking the picture, editing the photo, giving it to them. So them downloading it and putting it on social media is a lot quicker than like, them trying to create all this stuff, So yes, I can see it interfering with being present for sure. And we do, like I said, I do not encourage people to do this. It's just something that we noticed was happening.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. They're excited, and
Right.
I mean, they have the photo. If it's going to take me 2 seconds to put it up, I might do it too.
Right. Well, and some
One
people
day.
are posting their own pictures anyway.
True.
So it depends. It really is funny, like, to see the different groups of people. Like, there are some groups who are like all about the pictures and are uploading pictures and creating doing all things, and then the next group, like on the next retreat, they don't care nearly as much. Like, they're happy to have the pictures and they're excited to see them, but they're not worried about it and they're not posting about it. So it's funny to see the different groups and the different people within them.
Huh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. I think we've gone through everything. You even told me the lessons you've learned. So let's do this one. What message do you hope to spread through the work that you do? Like, why do you do what you do?
Like, as a photographer or retreat photographer, like specifically, or just a photographer in general?
What in general?
Okay. Oh gosh, my message.
Make it good. No pressure.
Oh gosh. No, yeah, no pressure. Make it really profound. I mean, I feel like I can't say anything that hasn't already been said in one way or another, other than just be yourself. I know that's so lame, but I encourage that with everybody I meet. Like, I want to capture the real you, whatever that means, whatever that looks like. I want to capture the real you. And so for that to happen, just be yourself. And that's so much easier said than done for sure. Even for me, like I know the Instagram, the highlight reel of your life type thing, like not even referring to that. I mean, you cannot share. I've taken pictures of people where we didn't share them or do anything. It was just for them specifically. And it's so beautiful to see people walk away from a photo shoot and feel empowered and so much like better about themselves. Like it's such a cool gift that they're giving me, when they just are like so confident. And it also on the reverse side, it bums me out to see people like, I understand we all have our insecurities, and I'm not even saying to pretend you don't, because we all do. But to watch them control people sometimes, and to watch people like do what they think they're supposed to do or they have to do. I just wish we could all just be a little more honest and open. Yeah, that was a terrible answer.
No, that was a great answer.
I was like, I feel like that's so cheesy though. Like, and like I said, it's a lot easier to say that than to do it. Because I mean, I know I struggle with all that as well. Like, I mean, I told you I could never have been an actress. I hate attention. Even doing this podcast was very nerve-wracking for me. So I understand how difficult it is. And I actually even had my own photo shoot done a couple months ago. It wasn't for my brand. It was just like a girl I know who was trying to practice photography. And so she offered, and I was like, okay. And and I went into it remembering all the things that I say to my clients. That was like why I did it. I was like the experience of being on the other side of the camera. And the main thing I told myself and I did was like, I am going to lean into this photo shoot as much as possible because I know that that's the type of person I want to be. Is someone who's not like, I don't want to be afraid to be seen anymore. And I feel like a lot of us are afraid to be seen like for our true selves, not like the headshot version, not like the family portrait, look at, or none of that stuff. Just like truly be myself in a photo shoot. Um, and yeah, and I think like kind of what you were saying like earlier about how our insecurities come up and it's like we're looking into a mirror a little bit during a shoot, like we're being also like kind of triggered a little bit, like stuff is coming up and we're uncomfortable. And so I wish we could like look at that a little bit more. And but that's a lot to I had like to a pressure to put on a photo shoot. But
It is. But I think it's also an evolution. It's something
right.
like I think I was talking to Carlene, who's also a photographer. I think it was her that I was talking to about it. Um, it doesn't end in one session. Like you have one
Right.
session and it's kind of like the initial, let's see what we have here. And then you notice things that you need to change, not necessarily that you're picking apart your face or your arms,
Right.
but you're saying,
I like
what?
this. I don't like that.
Yeah. Or I noticed the fear in my eyes. I noticed the insecurity in my face. I noticed that I look unsure of myself. And then it makes you feel like, okay, I want to try again. I want to try again and see if
Yeah.
I can show up more as myself without those things.
I tell people that because I've worked with all different kinds of people. I've worked with the people who are like, they come across so confident and carefree and just open and they're just flowing and, whatever. And then other people who are like, I'm so awkward. I'm so self-conscious. I can't ever be like that person. And I'm like, this person who you think is the most confident person in the world, I've taken their picture. Trust me, they have their insecurities, but they don't let it control them. And also, they've had a lot of practice. They've done many, many photo shoots. Like being photogenic is not something that I mean, okay, a small percentage of people may be born perfectly photogenic, but most people, like it's something you learn and it's something you get comfortable with and you can practice. The more comfortable you get in front of a camera, the more relaxed and the more happy and open and confident you're gonna appear. Like that's kind of the catch, right? Like you just got to keep doing it and you'll get more comfortable. But people they tend to be like, I'm awkward, I'm uncomfortable, and they kind of clam up and they don't like learn, like you're saying, like learn and allow the evolution to happen. They just kind of think of it as something to dread. And so that's why I try to slowly start to unravel that if I can for some people. But yeah, it's a practice for sure.
It's a therapy. I see it as a therapy. It's a journey of self-acceptance, radical self-acceptance.
Right. I 1,000% agree. And it's so beautiful, like seeing the more I work with some people and just seeing how they change, it's very cool. It's very cool to see. I have this one friend who I would try, like I would force her to like let me practice on her when I was still like learning. And she would be like, no, I don't want to. And I would be like, come on, please, I need to practice. And then over the years now, when we do a photo shoot, like, you know, she got engaged and so she wanted to do engagement photos and completely different person. Just just all over the place and like skipping down the middle of the street for the pictures. And it's just so cool to see. It's almost like I would imagine like a little kid. I don't have kids, but a little kid, you know, like gaining confidence as they're learning something. Like it really is a skill like anything else. Yeah.
And since you know her, how has that changed her life? Have you noticed that translate into the way she lives her life?
I mean, I don't know. I don't like to take credit too much for anybody's like evolution in life, but she's always been a very extroverted person. So it's hard. I'm trying to think. But I have seen her. Let's see if I can put it this way. So it felt like back then she was very extroverted and loud and like a big ball of sunshine. But then, yes, when it came to like a photo shoot or like herself, like privately, she was a little more like reserved. And now, years later, it feels more like a little bit more like the opposite. She's still very like extroverted, but it feels like she has much more of an inner confidence so that she doesn't feel like she needs to be as loud and, you know, to the rest of the world. And there's more inner confidence. But I will not take credit for that. I don't know if it was like because of photo shoots with me or just like growing up. But yeah, now
Could
that
be
you
both.
mention it, yeah, it could be. I feel like in life, so many things that change you, like there's like so many things and they all just kind of weave into each other, you know? So it's
Yes,
hard to know it. It's hard to say, like pinpoint one thing exactly when it's like so many things just all happening at the same time.
definitely. Well, Alexandra, thank you for this
Thank
lovely chat.
you.
It's
Thank
been
you.
great.
Good. Good. Thanks
For
for
sure.
having me. I appreciate it.